Hey y'all, Leela with mskisskreations. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I made this Valentine's Day themed tumbler. This is a super easy beginner's tumbler tutorial, and like always, all of my materials will be listed in my description below, including some direct links and coupon codes. And with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started with this tutorial. I'm starting with a 20-ounce skinny stainless steel tumbler from Makerflow Crafts. I'm first going to start by prepping this tumbler. I sand this tumbler down with a 120 grit sanding block. I usually use between 180 grit and 60 grit sanding block to sand all of my tumblers. Once I finish sanding, I wipe my tumbler down with 91% alcohol. You want to make sure your alcohol is at least 91% just to get rid of any of that extra sanding dust or some oils that may have transferred from the tumbler from your hands. After I'm finished prepping, I place my tumbler arm into my tumbler and I try not to touch my tumbler at all. I'm applying two glitters for this tumbler from Glitter Heart Co. Tube Top and Frosted Taffy. I am using Adhesive Apothecary Tickled Tonic to apply my glitters to my tumbler, so this is going to be acting as my adhesive. I apply my paint with a makeup brush from Wet n Wild. I will have the Amazon link to these brushes posted in my description below. I first apply my paint to my tumbler. These paints, again, Adhesive Apothecary, they are paints, primers, and adhesives. So it's a 3-in-1 paint and they're amazing. I do have their link posted in my description below, and I also have a coupon code MSKISS for you guys to test out these paints. As y'all can see, make sure you shake the bottle to get a nice smooth consistency, and when you're finished applying these paints after you apply your glitter, make sure to wash that brush, or that brush is going to be rock hard and you'll ruin it. Once I have all of my paint on my tumbler, I make sure to go right into with my glitter because these paints dry very quickly. I first start with the bottom color and then I slowly start from the very end of the tumbler, and as I'm going up the tumbler, I'm slowly lifting my hand away from the tumbler and I'm tapping this glitter, the bottle, like I'm tapping salt. So that's the only way I'm able to explain it. Just take your finger and just tap a little bit. As you're going towards the center of the tumbler, you're moving that glitter bottle further away from the tumbler. So whenever I do the second color, I'm not as worried because I'm just kind of filling in blanks. And the key to doing a perfect, or a quote unquote perfect ombre, is to try to get colors that complement each other and the background that complement each other. Once I add the glitters to the tumbler, I'm going to spray my tumbler with 2 coats of this Krylon Crystal Clear acrylic coating. I spray 1 coat, I wait 5 minutes, and then I spray another coat, and then I let this tumbler dry for 20 minutes before I move on to the next step. You want to make sure this dries. The reason why I'm spraying this is to have those glitters locked in place. If you don't have your glitters sealed, then whenever you go to apply your epoxy, your glitters are going to move around. Once my glitter adhesive is nice and dry, I take parchment paper and I slowly press down on this tumbler. I want to make sure this glitter is pressed down and placed onto the tumbler before I apply my epoxy. So this is why I do this. I'm going in with my first coat of epoxy. I mixed a total of 40 mLs of epoxy. That's 20 mLs part A and 20 mLs part B, totaling 40 mLs of epoxy. I want to make sure that I have a very thick coat of epoxy for this step, because after this step we are going to apply the decals to the tumbler, and you don't want to apply decals to the tumbler whenever your epoxy isn't smooth. So if you happen to apply a little less epoxy than I did, and then you take your tumbler off the turner and you realize that it's still bumpy from the glitter, that's okay. Don't sand your tumbler. Just place another 10 mLs or 15 mLs of epoxy total on your tumbler until your tumbler is nice and smooth. I let this tumbler spin for 4 hours and then let it air dry or air cure for another 20 hours with a total drying time of 24 hours. Once my tumbler's epoxy has cured, I'm going with my X-Acto knife and I'm cutting the edge of the tumbler. I do this after every epoxy step. I want to make sure that I have the final cleanup process a little easier, so this is why I take my X-Acto knife after every epoxy step. Then I'm going in with my 180 grit sanding block and I'm sanding the rim. I'm exposing the tiniest bit of stainless steel to have a nice seal. And then I'm going to sand around the tumbler. I'm able to sand very hard around this tumbler because I applied such a thick coat, so I'm not worried about sanding away that glitter. If you do have bumpy areas where the glitter is poking through, make sure to apply that extra coat of epoxy and then go in with your sanding. Sometimes if you sand over glitter, it's going to sand away the glitter, or you're going to have a lot of craters in your tumbler, those little holes, so we want to avoid that. After every sanding step, I always go in with my 91% alcohol to get rid of any of that excess sanding dust or excess oils that I may have added to the tumbler. And now for the fun part, we are going to add the decals. I wanted a nice pinky and white feel for this tumbler because obviously Valentine's Day. So I created a decal that said "Love Struck by You." I will have the font name of this decal listed in my description below. And then I use Cricut Design Space, so I just typed in on my Cricut Design Space images of Valentine's Day hearts, and I found a lot of cute Valentine's Day hearts that says hugs, love you, and just cute little sayings that you usually have on the candies. And I just used a white decal for my Love Struck, and then I used a pink and then a darker pink decal. I wish I would have found different color pink decals because I realized that that lighter pink decal that I'm cutting out now is like very similar to my pink glitter, but I really want to just use what I have on hand, and I didn't want to spend any extra money, so I made it work, and I think at the end it does look kind of cute, the whole blended effect. So this just shows that just use what you have on hand. If you don't have everything I have in the video, you can always make these colors different. You can make it red, you can make it purple, pink, and you can add even white candies. Whatever you have on hand, try to use and just really be creative, and I know whatever you create is going to be beautiful. As for the sizing of the hearts, I sized them two sizes. I made them 0.7 by 0.7 inches, and then the bigger ones are 0.9 by 0.9 inches. So they're a little under an inch. I didn't want them to be really, really big, and I didn't want them to be so small where you couldn't read what they said inside of the hearts. I found it to be easier to just place them one by one on the tumbler. So what I did was I placed an entire sheet of transfer tape over the vinyl, and then I cut every single heart off or out, and then I placed every single heart down individually. So you could see that the pink kind of blended in with the darker pink, but at the end of the day, I think it turned out cute. Like I said, make your tumbler however you want to make your tumbler. I wanted to just make a beginner-friendly tumbler for my absolute beginner followers, so I hope that this is very simple to follow, and I hope this design is very easy. After adding all of my decals to the tumbler, I go in with my quick coat from CC DIY. Again, it will be listed in my description below. This is a urethane sealer. I place this over all of my pieces of vinyl that I place on my tumblers. This allows that vinyl to stick to the tumbler, so whenever you epoxy, you don't have to worry about that vinyl peeking up and lifting through that epoxy. This stuff is a lifesaver, and I absolutely recommend this 100% if you want to make your tumbler journey a lot easier. After I apply this, I let my tumbler dry for about 20 to 25 minutes before I go in with my first coat of final epoxy, if that makes sense. So I mixed about 15 mLs of epoxy, and I do 2 coats of 15 mLs of epoxy. So 7.5 part A and 7.5 part B, totaling 15 mLs of epoxy. I let this cure for about 8 to 10 hours, and then I go in with my second 15 mLs of epoxy. So you want to do 2 thin coats of epoxy for your final coats of epoxy instead of doing a very thick coat. This allows your tumbler to dry very smoothly, and you don't have that bubble at the bottom if your turner happens to be uneven. The epoxy that I use is from Flynn Sister Supply Shop. I will have them linked in my description below, and I also have a coupon code for them and the glitter that I use in this video. Once that epoxy is cured, I'm going in with my X-Acto knife for the final time to clean up the rim of the tumbler, and then I place my tumbler's lid on my tumbler, and my tumbler is ready to go. I told y'all this is a very simple tumbler, and it's very beginner friendly, and remember, you guys can change the colors and customize these tumblers whichever way you guys want to. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to like this video and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more tumbler and craft videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.